You've unlocked a Roundtable.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Roundtable discussion of Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'm Adam.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Chris.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It's been a long-ass time. But yeah, with our Roundtable discussions, we are normally, or traditionally, doing a non-spoiler review and then going into a spoiler section after our credits. However, because we feel that Star Wars, it's like its own entity, that everybody's seen it already. You're not listening to a podcast if you're on the fence for seeing this movie. You're going to see it or you're not going to see this movie.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, we are just going to go into a full spoiler section review.
It'd be also really tough not to spoil things with, just a discussion about whether or not we like it. So
yeah, I mean, you go into like comparisons of the original trilogy, you go into comparisons and just a lot of different things. I was trying to think about it in a non-spoiler way, and it's really hard to do so.
yeah.
Yes.
Just because there's so much history behind this movie, and this franchise, I guess. So, this is your warning. This is going to be full of spoilers from the start. So if you haven't watched The Force Awakens, I'm surprised.
Yeah, you're like the minority of America right now.
Yeah, everybody's there. 250 mil as of recording this. Global, domestic is like 120 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's only been like 36 hours that it's been out.
technically, yeah.
Not even, like 24 hours at this point, because it's... Yeah. They started playing them at 7 o'clock yesterday?
Was it? No,
Yeah.
today's Saturday.
Today's Saturday.
Oh. Okay.
Adam's been gone a while. He doesn't know what day it is anymore. He's been living in that cave.
Valid.
But yeah, so it's been a couple days that it's been out.
So, where should we start?
All right. Again, final warning. Spoilers. Just making sure that everybody knows. Okay. So then, all right, where do you guys want to start?
Well, we've been saying this kind of all throughout the year, but with previous reviews, but this is kind of the year of nostalgia when it comes to movies, and this movie doesn't break that trend at all.
No.
This is like pure nostalgia porn for anybody who likes Star Wars.
Yeah. And when Alex was talking about the year of nostalgia, we're referencing Terminator Genesis and Jurassic World.
Correct.
As two large franchises that has a huge fan base that people just love, that it doesn't matter if they try to progress those stories forward or try to make it new and interesting. They're just going to try to rehash and put a lot of callbacks into those movies to make it seem like, oh, remember these movies? These were great. You loved them. Here's some more of the same exact stuff.
Yeah, and that was The Force Awakens in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, am I going to be the only one here that liked the movie?
It's seeming that way.
Well,
We'll see. But let's talk about it. So that being said, it's the year of nostalgia. What worked for you guys? We'll start off positive here.
Okay, what worked for me is visually, it's a stunning movie.
Oh, God, yeah.
It looks fantastic all around. Not all around. There were some CG effects that made me cringe.
Really? Like what?
The new big bad guy that you see a hologram of only. That big, alien
he's like
thing.
a giant?
Yeah.
That's probably not really a giant because he's a hologram.
Right. That got a very Wizard of Oz feel from that guy. But, like, his modeling and compositing wasn't all that solid, but everything besides that looked really good, I think.
Yeah.
I felt like that was on purpose, though, because he was a hologram.
Maybe.
Yeah, we're referring to Supreme Leader Snoke.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
that's right, yeah.
That's his official name. Yeah, so he's this giant hologram, and I don't think he's actually that size. It's just probably him in this foreboding room where they just project his hologram or whatever. I wouldn't hope that he was that size. That'd be kind of insane, but...
Yeah,
it's a
that really take me out of it.
It's a weird. I mean, it's a Star Wars universe. It technically can be. He can be a giant.
There's big creatures. Yeah.
So it definitely looks like he's been in some fights though.
Yeah, he had some scarring and
definitely some lightsaber action going on there to his face.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what do you think of that character? The new emperor, so to speak.
I don't know. You don't get much of a feel for him. He gives off that menacing vibe and just that authoritative, like, you gotta do this for me, blah blah blah, which is, just like another Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
Almost.
Just a puppet master.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really not much to him yet. Hopefully this movie feels like it's an introduction. This is clearly, there's going to be so much more to this story as a whole. So when we see The Force Awakens along with the two movies that follow it as one piece, I think that it will be more successful in my eyes.
I'm hoping, yeah.
I think it'll be a lot more interesting because it's primarily just setup.
It's a big prologue, yeah.
Yeah, it's a setup and it's a handoff. Something that we've kind of talked about a lot in different movies where your generational actors are getting to that point where they can't do action anymore. They need to find ways to carry these franchises on and try to hand them off. And we've seen that with Indiana Jones unsuccessfully, with my main man Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, we saw it with Die Hard unsuccessfully.
Right. So in that regard, I actually thought that this was the best iteration of a handoff movie.
Even Creed?
Creed was good too.
But you think it's better than Creed?
For the handoff standpoint?
From the handoff standpoint? Okay.
No.
Okay.
But I have to think about it. Like, I think that they did a really good job with Creed doing the handoff successfully, but I also think that they did a good job with this one as well. I'm not knocking this one for that.
Yeah. I know. I see what you're saying, yeah.
There's issues that I have with the movie, but I don't think that those issues relate to the handoff portion of it.
I got you.
Yeah, I think that they did it smart. I think that using Rey as your new main Jedi is an interesting choice, but yet in today's society, an obvious choice.
Right.
But
you got a lot of that, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's good because it's good to have an empowering woman lead to, bring a whole new demographic into the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? Honestly, she works. I really liked her character.
Yeah. I mean, considering she's this brand new actress that kind of came out of nowhere, I think she did a really good job. It could have been catastrophic to have such a major role played by literally like just this newcomer, but
you get that from a lot of the Star Wars flicks, though. I mean, Harrison Ford, he was a carpenter that George Lucas was like, "Hey, you're going to do my movie."
But it wasn't an established franchise yet, though.
Yeah,
it was still a risk. It was a movie that nobody knew that was going to be successful.
That's true.
So this already had that prestige of this existing 6-movie franchise with TV series and
billions of dollars on
comic books and books and I feel like it was a bigger risk to have this. I'm not going to say nobody, but this unknown.
Well, they did that with Anakin in Hayden Christensen,
and that played out so well.
Right.
But also, I feel I like that they do that because it helps you look at the character as more of a character rather than this actor, If it was a bigger name, if it was like a Natalie Portman or like Scarlett Johansson or, someone like that who I've seen a lot on the screen, I'll be like, oh, yeah, it's them. I like seeing them. But seeing a new actress in a big role, it makes me look at that character as a character in that universe more.
That makes sense. You have less preconceptions of what to expect from the performance. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a good recent example of that would be the Hunger Games franchise, where you had Jennifer Lawrence, who wasn't really into much right when the Hunger Games came out. I mean, she was not an obvious...
Like one movie before that, I think.
Yeah, Winter's Bone, which she did a really good job, and then that's probably one of the large reasons she got the role as Katniss. But, like, now from when that came out, and just her stardom...
Yeah.
Is, just blew up. So by the time that you're watching the 4th movie of the series, it's like, you're seeing Katniss, but at the same time, you're seeing Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to stay into the movie when you're seeing that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that it was a smart choice in choosing a no-name for Rey and having her pull it off as much as she did.
All right. But, I mean, listen, I'm sure they went through casting hell to get these people. They vetted a lot of people for this role, so they're going to choose, the cream of the crop at that point.
Yeah, and it was a good job. Definitely smart casting.
Yeah, I can't really think of any characters that I disliked. I mean, I really liked Finn. I thought he was an interesting character in the sense that his goal wasn't to help anybody really initially. It was just to help himself.
Yeah.
And then he kind of blossomed into a more interesting character.
See, right. Yeah, no, I agree. The problem that I kind of have with some of the writing or the beats that they chose to use for like humor were just really weirdly placed. And like with John Boyega's character Finn, I feel like he is part of these jokes that don't necessarily work right. And he's kind of a dick when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because he wants to go save Rey. He lies and puts the whole entire universe in jeopardy. Saying, yeah, I know how to fucking disable that shit. I can get the shields down, no problem. So they're putting the weight of the universe on him because he says that. But when they finally land and he's talking to Han about it, he's like, no, man, I we'll figure out. The Force will help us, guide us.
But that's what makes it believable.
That's a huge dick move, man. Like, you wanted to go save your friend, and you know that these people are putting all of this weight on top of your decisions and what you're saying. That bothered me.
Everybody's gonna have ulterior motives.
Yeah, but ulterior motives versus the ulterior motive that
You're
puts the
sending a
universe
bunch of people into battle.
Yeah, I
Like-
mean that's not a great character thing. That's where I think the script is weak, because when you're not sitting there thinking about it, you're just letting the action take place. Then it's like, yeah, fine, that makes sense. But then you're like, wait a minute, he just put the whole fucking universe in jeopardy by lying to them. Like,
Well,
that's
it's not
that's
like
shitty.
the New Order, the New Empire, or the First Order. New Order? First Order?
First Order.
First Order. New Order's a band. Anyways, the First Order, it's not like they're looking to literally destroy the galaxy. They're just trying to kill people that don't agree with them.
Yeah, but Starkiller Base is so fucking gigantic, it can just blow up portions of the galaxy in one fell swoop, as opposed to the Death Stars that can just do a planet at a time. This thing could take out several things.
Yeah.
So,
I still don't understand how physics on lasers like that work.
I
They're
didn't,
like laser splitting in midstream. I don't think that happens.
yeah, I don't know. It took place a long time ago.
Okay.
All right, and, I don't know, but yeah. So for his character, kind of bothered me a little bit because of that. Like his motivation and everything just didn't work nearly as much, and then he just had some really cheesy lines.
He did have some cheesy dialogue. I mean, he was by no means a Jar Jar Banks, but he was definitely part of the comedy relief, I guess you could.
Yeah, but the comedy, some of it works. There's some cute stuff in there. Like, all right, fine. But like when he's like trying to talk shit to like, what was it, Captain Phasma?
Phasma.
And he's like talking shit to her. It's like, come on. Like even Han's like, tone it down. Like it's just that doesn't work. The opening scene. Well, we're talking about humor here, where the hotshot pilot Poe gets captured, and he's talking to Kylo Ren, and they're just looking at each other. He's like, "Am I supposed to talk here?"
Oh yeah.
It's like, this is the very first introduction of your big bad. This big bad is taking place of one of the biggest, baddest villains in cinematic history, Darth Vader. And you have the first interaction that he has with somebody who is supposed to be kind of scared of him, kind of just talking shit like, hey, who's supposed to talk here first? That does not that immediately puts you into not taking that character very seriously, because obviously the people are not scared of him.
Right.
So that bothers me. Like, I want Kylo Ren to be the super badass dude that can just fuck up shit. But I understand that it's kind of like an origin with him. He's not fully trained yet.
He's not the full super bad guy yet.
Right. He's not
on the path to that. And I actually really liked that about him, that it wasn't like automatically, hey, I'm Darth Vader and I'm the worst thing that ever happened to the rebels.
But in order for him to have this whole First Order behind him, like having this facade, a lot of it has to be with fear.
But he's not the leader of the First Order. He's just another soldier in this movie. He's a high-ranking soldier, but he's on par with the general, and the general gives him shit. So he's not like this super high-powered big bad yet. He's on the path to that.
I don't know. Like, I want him to, I expected him to be more menacing. And the fact that they kind of just talk shit at him the very first opening scene, it's like, oh, that doesn't put a good idea of him in my head.
And the fact that they bothered revealing his face and showing it in this one, I think was a mistake as well. Because it takes off that mysterious looming entity that Darth Vader had, you know? Because Darth Vader, all he was for the long time was just the black mask and suit. And giving Kylo Ren a face off the get-go totally just, it humanizes him more and makes him something less to be afraid of.
See, I'm actually okay with them humanizing him.
I agree.
The reason being is because we don't want an exact rehash of the original trilogy, and the fact that he has Han and Leia as his parents, and this is like their son gone wrong, we get to see a different perspective of like going to the dark side, because we never really had that parental viewpoint of it.
Yeah.
And
he's torn between the light side and the dark side.
Right. There's still a chance for him to actually convert. He's not fully big bad yet.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know his powers. Like, it's a weird mix, because like he was able to destroy the Jedi Order from what we could understand in flashbacks in the movie, and from everything like Luke failing, him falling to the dark side. So he was strong enough to defeat the other Padawans or however it was. We don't know how it was established. Mm-hmm. And then go to the dark side. And then so much so that Luke just goes off and goes in exile. So it's weird. I just expect him to be, if he's such a high mark official inside of the New Order, he seems like this punk ass teenager. And you don't get respect for that type of person. You just look at him like, let's get the punk, man. Like, he's sitting there whenever he gets pissed off, just starts wailing on shit. And he does it twice in the movie.
He's emotionally unstable. And I think that makes for a very interesting villain. That he's not in control.
Yeah.
He's being led by somebody that's really, that's leading him towards this dark side. And I think it's much more interesting that he's just not this absolute, it's not just bad guy and that's it.
Right.
There's different shades to him, and I think that's really interesting. I think that the fact that he does freak out, it's indicative of the fact that he's torn, like he says when he's talking to Han. He's being torn apart. And I think it's really interesting in that sense that he's just not this absolute. He's this flawed character, and not written flawed. I think just flawed. He's a flawed person.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I do like the humanizing aspect to it.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
Oh, I'm not trying to change your
Right,
opinion.
No. But I mean, it's important to get different perspectives on it. Like,
the last two big bads that we had, Darth Maul and Darth Vader. It was just evil. That's it. Evil.
Mastered evil.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, they were masters of doing everything pretty much with lightsaber, with the Force, being able to control their Force and everything. We don't see that necessarily with Kylo Ren. And at the very end, we even hear, which is the Supreme Leader, Snoke, say, bring him, I'll continue his training.
It's time to finish his training.
Time to finish his training. So, like,
training, yeah.
There's still a roughness to him because he hasn't been challenged.
Exactly.
He doesn't.
Which is why he was so scared, which was awesome to see him frightened when Rey is just like, she's just kind of learning about her abilities, but
and is still a force with him. I was interested. I was kind of surprised that John Boyega Finn, who doesn't have any force powers, who's able to wield this lightsaber and pretty much fight Kylo for a little bit,
Right.
and hang with him a little bit because they're both wildly swinging at each other.
Yeah.
It's not that I do appreciate that aspect by all means. Like the prequels were so highly choreographed, it turned lightsaber fights into boring.
Yeah.
Cyber fights.
Yeah.
Just crazy, just whipping these things around, doing all these spins and
It's
stuff.
more of a dance than a
Yeah,
fight.
it wasn't compelling. It wasn't interesting. That's what made the original trilogy interesting. Like lightsaber fights, they were, they were slower. They were more calculated moves, but there was so much drama behind every one of those swings that made those fights interesting.
The original lightsaber fights were based off the samurai katana type
Right.
battles, while they completely abandoned that in the prequels.
Oh yeah, the prequels are just like, let's see style, let's see
Right.
like how much shit we could sell type of thing, and this brought it back. This had the weight of the emotion behind it. You saw Finn just kind of wildly swinging, and surprisingly enough, like Kylo should have just been able to take him down in a couple of moves.
But obviously he's very easily affected by his emotions.
Yeah, his emotions drive him.
They drive him, but they also potentially, since he can't control himself with those emotions, we've seen those two scenes where he just freaks out and starts just swinging his lightsaber at whatever is nearest. I think that's why Finn was able to fight him for a brief period of time, because he just wasn't really in full control of himself. He was just angry. He was just swinging that sword. It wasn't a controlled fight. It was just, I'm fucking pissed. This deserter, he screams at him. He says, what was it, deserter or
Traitor.
Traitor. He
one of those,
screams
yeah.
traitor just in pure anger. So he's friggin' pissed at this ex-stormtrooper, and they're just swinging at each other. So that's why Boyega just, for that short, period of time, has that ability to kind of fend for himself. But then when Ren kind of regains his composure, it's like, all right, no, I'm gonna cut you up.
Yeah.
So,
Which was pretty brutal.
yeah.
Like, surprisingly brutal. Like, we just saw the death of Han Solo,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about. And then, like, damn, how much more emotion can I take? And then all of a sudden you see Finn get cut. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Bad.
You think he's dead. I mean, he just took a saber to the spine.
Yeah.
That's not, that's
Well,
kind of serious.
I was talking to this, with you about, that fight specifically earlier, and I really like how they actually used those little hilts. Like, he stabs him in the shoulder with it. I was like, all right, cool. So he's actually, it's not just for looks.
There's effects to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can just move his wrist a little bit and hurt the person
Yeah.
to throw them off balance, which was interesting. You're right. At first, I didn't like the lightsaber. Obviously, that was the huge debate online when we first saw it, like this medieval broadsword type of thing. But it for the most part works. I also like that it's kind of like not a clean laser blade.
Yeah.
It's kind of rough. Like
It's got sound effects and visual, like crackles to it.
yeah,
It's almost like flame.
yeah, it's definitely not the traditional lightsaber that you see.
Right.
So there's something like raw about it, and that's what like you kind of get with his character. You know, he's very raw and emotional, and I liked that aspect to it. There's a lot of things that I liked visually. Mm-hmm. I mean, lightsabers fight in the snow was freaking phenomenal.
The trees dropping.
looking,
Yeah, that was a gorgeous fight. Also a very emotional one. I mean, we're seeing Rey take control of the Force pretty much for the first time, and being able to balance it and learn. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah.
There are some good things here, for sure.
Right.
And where do you guys want to go?
Alex touched on something earlier. I want to mention it before I forget it. The visuals he touched on. We talked a little bit about the CGI. I really want to throw out there how awesome the practical effects were in this movie. A lot of the aliens, I'd say probably the majority of them, they were all puppets, like actual practical effects. either puppets or costumes, and they looked so cool, and it felt so part of that original universe.
Yeah.
Whereas the prequel trilogy just CGI'd the shit out of everything. And usually it wasn't even that great of a CGI, so it pulled you out of the movie.
Yeah, you knew that you were looking at like a human actor surrounded by green screens.
Yeah.
That are going to be talking to like these balls.
Yeah.
That are just holding places of these CGI characters.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Yeah, like, and it felt like that because those are the wooden performances that we got. When you add realism, like you said,
yeah,
it makes a huge difference, and it looked great.
Yeah, even though you're looking at it and you know it's a puppet or it's a dude in a mask or a costume, whatever, maybe it's me being stupid here, but it's got that really cool, the right kind of nostalgic effect to the movie.
Oh yeah, no, 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too, like in terms of advancement and visuals and stuff, like seeing the Falcon flying around in different angles and different stuff that you could see that you didn't necessarily do with models.
Yeah, it's
it's so fucking cool.
Yeah,
it was so rad. Like seeing it fly through like one of the Star Destroyers, that was amazing. And one visual that really stuck out with me too was when the stormtroopers are coming in. And then you had like the suns in the background and like the heat from the suns, and then you have the TIE fighters coming in with the sun backdrops.
Mm-hmm.
Those looked freaking, oh god, I love that scene. It was a very war era-esque type of scene. Kind of like how, George always kind of touched on like World War II flying aces when he was making the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This had that like modern, like, warplane-esque aspect to it that like the visuals were freaking amazing.
The dogfights were great.
Yeah.
Especially the one at the very end, when we actually for the first time really see Poe like proving his worth as this renowned pilot. He's awesome. He's doing, barrel rolls and loop-de-loops and just shooting, 5 TIE fighters down in like the matter of 3 seconds, and I'm just like, all right, so this is why this guy's this awesome pilot, because he was killing shit. Yeah.
He was owning the sky. Now, one question I do have about that, because I did want to bring it up, was at that time, Finn didn't know that Poe was still alive.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Because they didn't go back to the Rebel base yet. So he's looking up and seeing this thing, and he's just like, that's a badass pilot.
Yeah.
And it would make sense in the context of if he knew that was Poe. But he didn't know that was Poe. He just looked at this dude and was like screaming that out. Like, it would have made more sense had it been him knowing that that was Poe in the air. Because he wouldn't just look up at the sky and say, that's a badass pilot out of nowhere. I mean, he would say it maybe if it's because he knows it's Poe. But I don't think that made sense.
Well, maybe it's because earlier in the movie he says that we have no chance against the First Order.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's seeing the First Order getting blown out of the sky, and maybe he's just getting excited. Maybe he's like, all right, we have a fucking chance. These X-Wing pilots are pretty friggin' great. I mean, that's,
I don't know.
Hypothesizing, but
something about it just didn't seem right. I don't know.
I can definitely understand you, though.
I don't think he would. What doesn't feel right about me about it is if he's running for his life, he wouldn't be taking time to look at the sky watching dogfights. He'll be running, ducking in cover, and trying not to get shot by stormtroopers.
It's also very valid.
Let alone shouting it out to the heavens, saying what a badass pilot that is. Honestly, his relationship with Poe was instant, and like they felt like they were buds, and maybe that's just the poor writing of it or the way that they executed it, but it made more sense if he was screaming at this guy, he knew that was Poe.
I don't feel like they were buds until they were escaping in that TIE fighter. Like at first, it was
that's
just
what I'm
like,
saying. Yeah. Once they established like their names and he calls them Finn, and then
that's when they were friends.
Yeah, they
because he
became.
gave him a name. Yeah.
They had like an instant bond with each other, and I mean, I talked to Alex about this, like with Oscar Isaac's character Poe. Like, he just comes over the top cheese to me. Like, it's really hard emphasized how positive this dude is. There's no grittiness to him. He's just like, hey man, how you doing? Like, he's just like super happy and like super like stereotypical happy dude. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what
it's hard for me to explain it.
Right. He comes off like too chipper.
It's like, it's almost like a fake Chipper. Like, it's probably genuine, like the way that his character's written or everything like that, but it's like, it's so over the top that it feels fake. Like, I have people like that, and they're just like, they have the biggest smile all the time, and like, the way they talk, they're like high energy and everything, like, that has to be fake, right? Like,
I mean, you just said that people like that actually exist, so.
It's just weird, though. Like, I don't know. So that kind of took me out of it. Like, a lot of people like Poe. I think we'll probably see him do a lot more in other movies. But, I mean, this is a good introduction for his character.
It's just weird that so many people like him that much, because he had like 5 minutes of screen time, if that.
Because of how high energy and how much of a great pilot he was.
Okay.
I mean, they captured that.
I think he's one of those characters that, where he's force-fed down our throats, that's for us to really like him, just so they can kill him off in another movie.
You think so?
I totally think he's gonna be dead in the second or third movie.
Interesting.
Like, he's gonna be on some sort of secret mission, and it's gonna be another, like, alright, my buddy died, now I gotta be John Boyega and train with a lightsaber and go kill shit.
So I don't think his character is gonna train. I don't think he's force sensitive.
Maybe not train in the sense of being a Jedi, but maybe he's gonna become a really great pilot.
Oh, okay. Maybe he'll take up piloting or something. Okay, fair enough. I could see that because he doesn't know how to fly now.
Yeah.
One of the reasons he saved him. Another reason why John Boyega is a dick, it wasn't because he was trying to save him out of the goodness of his heart. It's because he needed a fucking pilot.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not convinced he has great. He should be awarded as much as he has.
Well, right off the bat, he was looking out for himself, but he grows into more of a good person.
Okay.
I mean, keep in mind, he's been conditioned from almost birth just to be a stormtrooper. He didn't have a name. He was a number. And for whatever reason, the conditioning either didn't set in or wore off, and he just kind of grew a conscience, and he's like, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of this.
And we don't know, like, we know about clones and how they were developed and everything. We don't know how these latest versions of stormtroopers were developed.
They said it in the movie.
They just said that they had them
They were kidnapped.
They were kids,
babies,
basically. Yeah. I mean, so we don't know like what they went through in terms of brainwashing or any of that stuff. Maybe they put it in the books, but I'm just talking strictly from the movie standpoint.
Sure.
They didn't give us too much backstory, which we didn't necessarily need. We didn't need to spend 10 minutes
there was enough hinting at it, like Phasma says something about just the training or the conditioning, something along those lines.
Yeah, I really wish, like, they had Phasma. I wish they would have maybe gave her a little bit more to do, except, I mean, she didn't really do anything.
She did feel underutilized.
Yeah, I mean, she's this badass leader of the stormtroopers, essentially, and she's just there for a couple lines and to be taken hostage and bring down the shield and get talked shit to.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, you don't really get the impression that she's hot shit.
Yeah.
And
like,
she has this nice chrome suit as well.
Right. She just walks, like, with her shoulders back and her holding her rifle across her chest, and that's really it. She doesn't shoot anything. She doesn't do anything. She's not like this great hero or war person or anything. She's just there. Hopefully she does more in the upcoming movies.
You would think. You would hope.
Otherwise, that's just a background character that didn't necessarily need to be there.
Totally agree.
All right, so what else worked?
I guess we're going to talk about Han, right?
Okay.
The killing off of Han. I mean, that was poignant and I think necessary for the series.
Okay.
And necessary for Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Harrison didn't want to do this again.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do it after the second one.
Yeah, like
so he got his wish.
There's been a lot of talk about that over the years, where he wanted Han Solo to die. He felt like it'd be good storytelling if Han died, and
right.
So it made sense.
Yeah,
and it works well inside of the movie.
The death scene I thought was really awesome and touching. I mean, the way Han reaches over and just
caresses his face.
Yeah, caresses his son's face. He's like, this is... He still loved him, it's like, it's his kid.
And Chewie yelling in the background.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, man.
I thought it was. I mean, we all knew it was going to happen the moment Han runs up to that bridge.
Yeah.
The second that he goes to that bridge.
It's like you knew it, but you were like, I hope I'm wrong. But you absolutely knew that's what was going to happen.
And then Finn and Rey open the door, and then that spotlight goes right directly onto those two. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Right.
Like, you just knew. And that was unfortunate. They handled it well, though. The lighting was really good on Adam Driver's face, where you could kind of see blue on one side and kind of like a reddish on the other side.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It's subtle. Your brain catches it, but it's not like in your face. Kind of like how in Return of the Jedi, it was in your face, where you had Luke hiding underneath the staircases in when he's battling Vader, and half of his side is black in the shadow, and half of his face is in light. There's another recreation of that, just with lighting here, where Kylo Ren's face, half of it's kind of like a bluish tint, and the other part's red. So that was nice. I thought the lighting was really good on that. Yeah, they handled it well. They did a good job with it. I really can't complain. I felt the emotion behind it, more so the second time, knowing that it was happening, and watching all the cues leading up to it, because I watched this movie twice, and I appreciated that. I really liked it more the second time, actually.
I think that scene is what really got me to really like Kylo Ren, to be honest, as a character, because I saw that emotional side of him, where it wasn't just, a bratty kid freaking out because he's not getting his way. Part of it was that dialogue, part of it was the performance between the two actors, where you could see that, although he says he doesn't care about his father, he doesn't care about Han Solo, there was an emotional connection there, and he needed to sever it. In his world, he needed to sever that connection to his family and kill his own father.
Right, and he thanks Solo for doing that for him.
Yeah.
That was just a hard scene, man. That was, it worked.
It did. Worked really well.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you want to say on it?
No.
Okay. I did like how they cut away to Princess Leia, who we know is Force sensitive, feeling that through the Force.
Yeah.
Being able to utilize that, like knowing that something bad just happened.
Yep,
that was
her head just drops. Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a good touch. Okay. What didn't work?
The pacing. I don't think the pacing was good. Like, it felt too fast and felt too rushed, where everything just kind of happened and everyone just kind of rolled with it way too easily. Like, they felt like they were trying to cram too much story with as little exposition and story development as possible. Because it's just constant beat after beat after beat, and
Convenient beats
with no room to breathe, no room for the characters to process. I mean, you were talking about that instant connection between Poe and Finn, and that just, it felt wrong. Because, I mean, Poe is a rebel fighter, and here's this stormtrooper taking him out. Like, there should be a level of distrust between them, I would say. Like,
yeah.
It does make so sense that much sense that they clicked so fast.
Which makes sense, yeah.
And I mean, to that same effect, Finn and Rhea, it once again just happens so fast. It's Finn brought this shitstorm to Rhea's, home village, and she's like, well, okay, let's run away together and hop in the Millennium Falcon. Just so happens to be right there.
Convenience.
Yes.
That, I agree, was kind of like, come on. This Millennium Falcon's been sitting there for years, apparently.
And then Han couldn't find it. Then all of a sudden, bam! For story reasons, they find it right away.
Like, I had to run to the bathroom at that point, and they're in Millennium Falcon. I ran to the bathroom. I ran back, and suddenly Han is talking to them. I'm like, what the fuck did I just miss? Like, how did this happen? Like, was I gone for 15 minutes? Like, how long was I in there?
Yeah.
Like, it happened so fast, and once again, I just felt like everything was happening so conveniently in this movie, and it really takes me out of it, because I feel like the script is treating us like children.
Yeah. Like, you're right. I mean, this script is written to the point of just getting to one beat to the next beat without worrying or thinking about, does this make sense? Is this plausible? Fuck it, we're just doing it anyway. And then that's kind of how it felt, especially with like the Millennium Falcon. It's like, okay, we get it.
Right. And it is just for that nostalgia factor. I feel like a lot of it is. I mean, it's there for the story, but it is. I mean, they just want to bring that in because with the chess table or the game table that lights up, and just going to the old cockpit and getting that same feel. Like, yes, it was cool to see that again, but it's like, I know exactly what they're trying to do. It was the equivalent of in Jurassic World when they find, spoilers for Jurassic World, when they
don't spoil Jurassic World, because some people might not have seen it.
Okay, fine, but it's the equivalent to a scene in Jurassic World that made me roll my eyes.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
I think I know which scene, you guys know which scene I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So.
The other part of that, too, that you're talking about nostalgia, is like Finn is trying to find something, I think maybe to help out Chewie, because Chewie got hurt, which was actually, I kind of like that. Chewie got hurt, and he's like visibly hurt.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was
brings
interesting.
mortality to them.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. But, yeah, so he's rummaging around, looking through stuff to find, and he finds that ball.
Oh, the training ball.
The training ball that Luke used in Star Wars. Like, that thing's still on the fucking Falcon? Like,
30
seriously?
years later, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so many people have owned this Falcon since then.
Yeah.
The ball's still fucking there. Like, come on. Yeah, little stuff like that. It's like, okay, I get it. You're doing nostalgia stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fan service at that point.
Well, that's the whole script that's fan service, because this whole script is basically A New Hope all over again.
Yeah, this is a very safe script.
Yeah.
It's very, like, we're paying attention to the fans. We know what you guys love about Star Wars.
It really needed to be, though. After
Did
the
it?
last three
No.
movies. People
No.
were so ready just to shit on this franchise again. Because of what happened with the last three movies.
Yeah, because of that, they played it so safe and so it's a natural progression for them to obviously bring back the originals and try to hand off, as we kind of talked about earlier. But it's just, they had to play it safe, but they didn't have to at the same time. They could have pushed it forward. You could have had, like, think about the expanded universe and all the crazy stuff that they did throughout all that stuff. There's actually some interesting stuff. I don't know the EU very well, but I mean, they could have had, like, Luke doing the Jedi Order. They could have done all these things, but instead, they played it safe and, like, we're just going to rehash everything that we had previous with a little bit of changes that are subtle enough that you'll think that this is a new movie, but in reality, it's not. It's the same movie.
It really is. I mean, everybody's looking for a droid that has
Plans and
pertinent information, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same movie with like little tiny bits of pieces of Empire, little pieces of Jedi in it. And then by the time the credits rolled, like a Star Wars fan's like, greatest fucking movie, I loved it, oh my god. But they've seen it before.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing there.
And I don't think the problem people had with the prequels were so much that it told different stories. The fact that it fucked with the universe in the sense of bringing the idea of midichlorians into the Jedi Order,
Yeah.
and completely destroying the mysticism behind the whole Force and Jedi thing.
Yeah, I mean,
And just the overly CGI'd everything that didn't look good,
and
and a boring story where they spend too much time about pod racing and boring political stuff that
like-
goes nowhere.
oh yeah, political stuff in a kids movie, that always cracks me up.
Exactly.
Like, he just wanted to sell toys, and he didn't care. I'm talking about George here. George was so set and stubborn in his ways that he wanted to make his own damn movies. He funded these movies himself. I'm talking about the prequels. And he didn't go back to his source material and try to match them up very well.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I just watched the original trilogy with my daughter, who watched it for the first time, and just like, so much of the prequels and the original trilogy don't line up.
Yeah.
And George didn't give a shit. Like, come on. And then even now, you know, he sells off this movie, or he sells off his franchise, his baby, to Disney. He goes to watch it, and he has to criticize it in a backhanded type of way. Saying, oh, the fans are going to love this. You know, because he knows that it's a backhanded comment, because this isn't the movie that he would have made. He would have made something different, you know, for better or for worse. It wouldn't have been a retelling of Star Wars again. It might have been something completely different. That he knew that if he did this movie, the fans are going to love it anyway. But he was so set in his ways that he's like, fuck it, I'm doing it the way that I want to do it. So yeah, this movie is very safe. There are interesting elements into it that I caught, or I appreciated more the second viewing. The first viewing that I had, I really felt like Alex. I did not like this movie at all. There's a lot of gaping things that just bothered the living piss out of me. The second viewing was more of a nostalgic viewing for me, where Han Solo's death meant more to me. I felt like I was watching it from a fan perspective as opposed to a critical perspective. The second time, just to watch it, and I enjoyed it the second time more. There's little things in there, and like as you were kind of talking about with Kylo Ren, Adam, I was looking for the big bad. Instead, I got the shitty attitude teenager who's slashing at people's computers and slashing at like stuff to get away. Like, that didn't resonate with me until I sat down and like, all right, he's not fully trained.
Yeah,
he's, you know, I'm trying to like make sense of it in the back of my head, and I'm doing a little bit of that to make it feel better.
Right. And you know, talking to you guys, I do feel like I have to watch again. I initially said that I had to watch it again, then I gave up on the thought, thinking, you know what, I'm not going to give money to this movie again because I didn't really enjoy it. But talking to you guys, I do realize I missed some things that are misinterpreted, so I do think I have to see it again.
Yeah.
But I still have great reservations about the way the story unfolds and the story in general.
There's still problems.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still flaws with the movie, but
it's by no means the perfect Star Wars movie.
No, there's definitely not flaws, but there's cool things too. There's really neat elements that JJ brought to it. Like, we saw different force power a little bit, where like Poe shoots at Ren and immediately stops the bolt. And you see it, the bolt just holding there.
The whole time until he walks away, he's like, he's got like this almost subliminal control over the Force.
That was kind of cool. And the other part of the too that I like that Ren owns is he's able to paralyze somebody.
Oh, those effects were cool when he first does that to Rey.
Right.
It's almost like a Silent Hill nurse. She kind of like twitches into place. I was like, that's so freaking cool looking. And
yeah, I mean, that's great acting.
See, I thought that I saw that more as him just using the Force to hold her. Like, he would lift an object, he was just manipulating her arm to hold it back so she couldn't raise her weapon.
Oh, I looked at it from a paralyzed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like,
because he does it to Poe
she's kind of
twitching,
like trying to move, like almost fighting it, but he's just got this great power over the Force, this ability to use it, and as long as he's not being threatened. When he gets threatened, that's when he kind of loses that.
Or he gets scared because he's scared of Rey. You know, he hasn't come up against another Force-sensitive person in so long. He's kind of just gotten used to being the only one that he knows. So now that he has another person, it's like, fuck, dude. Like, I don't know necessarily how to do this. She blocked my mind reading shit.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know her powers yet, and she's able to block my mind reading shit and turned it around.
On the Stormtrooper.
Who was Daniel Craig, by the way.
That was Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, that was Daniel Craig cameo, was the Stormtrooper that she does the mind trick on.
Oh man, I really like that scene. It was a good kind of humor. Like, you know, and she says, and drop your gun. And I'll also drop my gun.
Yeah.
So, I dug it.
That was Bond.
No shit. I did not know that. That's a cool little factoid.
Yeah. But yeah, like, her being able to do that stuff and then turn it around on Ren, just saying like you're not going to be as powerful as Vader. You're worried that you're never going to be that way or scared of that.
Yeah,
that was cool. Before I forget, because I'm worried that I'll forget it. Similar, right in that scene where he's looking in her mind and reading all that stuff, he talks about the location of Luke. He talks like, I see you on the island. I see you in the middle of the ocean. And he talks about where Luke is. Mm-hmm. Now, is that a memory for her? Or is that him reading her foresight? Future?
Yeah.
Oh,
because I didn't catch that at the beginning, or the first viewing. The second viewing, now that I knew where Luke was, he's talking exactly of Luke's location.
Right. I didn't even catch that, so that's...
Yeah, so you'll catch it in the second viewing. Because you'll see, obviously Luke's in this, he's
on this
unique looking island in the middle of the water, and that's what Ren is reading from her mind.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shit, how is he reading that? Like, does that confirm that Rey might be Luke's kid?
I really think she is. Oh, well, you know what? I actually don't think she's Luke's kid. I think that she's Leia's kid. I think that she's Leia and Han's kid.
See, because the way they interact with her, I don't see it.
Why did Rey just all of a sudden recognize Leia the first time they met? When she gets off that ship and they see each other and they just embrace. It's because Rey, as a child, was dropped off on this planet by her mother. And you see that scene where she's screaming, "Don't go."
We don't know that she was dropped off by her mother.
That's my assumption. Like, why else would she recognize Leia like that and just like eye lock and embrace? Like, she recognized her. That's her mom.
See, I didn't see that. I like, again, in the second viewing too, because I try to pay attention to cues that Han and Leia would use that would tell that that's their kid. I don't
think Han knows. I think Rey was a secret kid. Like, maybe they're twins, just like Luke and Leia.
They better not do the twin thing.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, Han doesn't know, and she hid this other kid to protect it from...
I think from a story standpoint, they can't do the twins again because they've already done it. I think it'd be a cooler, more explorative thing if they can do... it's going to be essentially a Solo versus a Skywalker battling out for the universe.
But, like, Luke didn't really have any... I mean, I know it's been 30 years. Luke could have had romantic encounters with countless women.
We know that he tried to recreate the Order, and then it was unsuccessful, so he goes into seclusion. During that time, he could have easily, tapped someone's ass and got pregnant, got them pregnant or something.
So you think maybe he left her on this
I mean, we know in the
planet?
I'm going EU real quick, but like Mara Jade, very popular with the fan base. Luke marries her, whatever. That's established that he's done that in the EU. We don't know if he's done that. I would say that it makes sense, and I think that it would make sense from a story standpoint that after the failure of Kylo Ren, he might be scared, and he throws her because he doesn't want her to follow the same path that Kylo does, and he dropped her off in a familiar type of thing that he knows, a desert fucking planet like Jakku. I see that happening more than I see that them being twins. Because it would make a little bit more sense.
Well, I mean, they could be siblings, but not twins.
I don't think
maybe they're not twins. Maybe I'm trying to nostalgicize.
See, I
just made that word up.
I like the look. We're gonna run with it. I like it. I liked the look between Luke and her at the very end. No words exchanged, because you can read so much into that.
Like he recognized her.
Yeah, like he recognized, this is my daughter. She's back. The Force is telling him that, and here she has my lightsaber. The Force brought her to me, despite my reservations.
She did have those flashbacks.
Now this is completely me speculating. Don't get me wrong.
No. I know. I was just shaking my head at something else.
But it can be something like that because she does have the flashbacks of everything.
When she first grabs the lightsaber, yeah.
So I'm feeling like a picture is worth 1,000 words in terms of like his face and their interaction there. And that's why JJ probably chose not to say anything there. Because, like, the original cut could have been the words that he says in the trailer.
Yeah.
You know, I have it, my father has it, I have it, you know, my sister has it, now you have it, blah, blah, blah. That could have been the words that he was originally chosen for the end of the movie. And then boom, black. But then it's more emotional if he doesn't say anything.
Yeah. And
he just looks at her and says, okay, you know, from a viewer standpoint, you're just looking at it like, okay, I gave her away, I pushed her away to make sure that this doesn't happen again. The Force brought her back to me.
Yeah.
So now it's time to train her.
Yeah.
And now she's going to go against Kylo.
Well, I mean, when you put it that way, I think we're both kind of right. I still feel that because of that embrace that her and Leia had, maybe Leia, her aunt, is the one that dropped her off on this desert island, this desert planet.
Maybe.
Cause there was a definite recognition there, like.
I didn't see the recognition. Maybe you're right. I have to, I don't say I want to.
Why else would they just embrace like that? Like, Rey gets off the spaceship off a Millennium Falcon and she sees an old woman. It's like, oh, I should go hug her.
Because she's the general and she knows the relationship between Han and Leia.
Does she?
Yeah. They've heard stories.
Yeah, I mean, these people are famous, you know, because they talk about the famous Jedi Luke Skywalker and the famous Han Solo.
Yeah, everybody seems to know Solo.
They go down history.
That's true. Okay, well.
So that's how I look at it.
I think what we're getting to here is that there's, I think, a few different ways to interpret this movie.
Yeah, and it's great debate. It's fun to talk about. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about all the cool speculation we had before the movie. Tried not to be spoiled and just speculating on stuff and
like whose kid Kylo Ren was,
or like who Kylo Ren was. Every like internet speculating that it could be Luke.
Yeah,
turned evil, which would have been a cool.
I liked my speculation earlier, which was when I still thought Luke was Kylo Ren. And was going to kill Han Solo. Because that would have been awesome.
That really would have been awesome, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a step in a different direction if you did something as bold as Luke not being able to, after the events of Return of the Jedi, or succumbing to the dark side like his father did.
Yeah.
And then this turning into a completely different movie, something in a new direction. But no, they played it safe. They went the safe route. So there's definitely cool things they could have done.
Yeah.
And different directions they might have been. But where the fans have appreciated that, no. The fans want to see Luke being good. They don't want to see Luke murdering younglings and all this crazy shit that his dad did. Because that got rejected pretty hardcore by the fan base. So you start doing that with Luke, a beloved character. Even though it steps into a different direction for the Star Wars franchise, the fans would reject it.
Well, because we've already seen Luke overcome the dark side.
Right.
Like, he was borderline, like, he was really close to turning.
Yeah, but, I mean, also look at the draw of the dark side almost as alcoholism. It's nothing you're always completely over. There's always going to be that little demon behind you.
That's a good metaphor.
Pushing you towards that. At any sort of, you know, psychological or emotional
trauma
suffering that people go through. I mean, whether it be eating disorders or alcoholism or anything like that, that's something they live with constantly and something they could easily fall into. So.
Right. And he was so close to turning to the dark side in Jedi. The thing that saved him was trying to save his dad. Yeah. Now that he did that, who's to say 30 years later he's still fighting that urge for the dark side? Because he wasn't trained well. He was trained way too old. He was always a hothead. He left despite his training to go save his friends. So there was always that streak in him.
Yeah.
That he could have easily turned 30 years later because he didn't have the strength of his redeeming his dad to keeping him to the light side because he already did that. So who knows? Like, it's a cool direction that you could have obviously went into.
Yeah.
But again, safe.
Yeah. But, I mean, we could speculate on what the story could have been for so long. But, I mean, what we were given was just a very fast-paced, convenient movie where everything just kind of unfolds nice and pleasantly to the point where you find the Millennium Falcon and Luke's old lightsaber by seemingly chance.
Yeah, I've been holding on to this for many years. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, how the hell did you get it? Well, that's a story for a different time. We'll talk about that.
Luke probably knew. Like, it was a plant. Like, one day my daughter is going to be here, or my niece, whichever it ends up being.
I'm going daughter.
All right.
I will stick by daughter.
I think it can go either way.
It probably can. I mean, if they do want to just recreate stuff again, they could just make Kylo and her siblings.
Maybe not twin siblings. I think I went in the wrong direction by saying they're twins, because they can absolutely be... I mean, Han Solo was out of the picture for a long time. Maybe Rey was born several years after he left. Or not several years, but 9 months after he left. You know what I mean?
It's not possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah.
No, but I know what you mean. Like, yeah, maybe he didn't know she was born, and
Yeah, I mean,
whatever. We don't know.
who's to say how long that training was? It could have been, like people shipping off to the army. They could be gone for a long time. You never know.
Yeah. So, anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I think we kind of touched on everything.
Okay. Adam?
Not much I can really think of that we haven't discussed. Any characters really that stood out other than the main 5 or so?
I liked Maz.
The
That was
glasses
the glasses
lady?
girl.
I liked her too.
I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is all right.
She had the perfect amount of being endearing.
Yeah.
That was believable. The eyes thing may be a little bit cheesy,
Yeah.
but for the most part,
She's well written.
she was perfect for Rey.
Yeah.
She was sweet,
Like
motherly,
this motherly figure, yeah.
Yeah,
I had a crush on Chewie.
which was that worked. That was funny.
That was good comedy, yeah.
That was definitely one of the shining moments of the comedy in this movie.
I liked BB-8. I mean,
BB-8 was adorable.
it's a cool, fun little droid that's expressive.
Yeah. The little thumbs up moment where he, like, does a little flame. I literally laughed out loud in the theater. Like, somebody, like, looked at me like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, I thought that was, I thought it was cool. It was definitely a kid's moment, but.
I still want to get a BB-8.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I love the thumbs up moment too. That totally worked for me. That was hilarious.
And just, it's weird because it's just a ball with a little head on it, and yet it's so emotive. There's these moments where he's looking at Rey and he's looking at Finn, like he's trying to figure out what's going on. He's almost like this inquisitive child.
Yeah.
And it's just the head turning, and you're like, you get that this thing is thinking, but it's just this ball, you know?
That's incredible puppeteering right there. Like, they do such a good job with it.
Or he points at the thing that Rey wants when Finn can't figure out which piece that she needs to save their Millennium Falcon. It looks right down at the thing. It's like, it's this piece, idiot. But yeah, BB-8 was amazing. Yeah. I really did like that. R2 being down in power save mode did kind of bother me. I'm like, come on, seriously? Conveniently, now it's going to power up again and show us where Luke is.
Even though it had interacted with BB-8 beforehand.
It could have easily done that. For whatever. It happened perfectly into the story, and that was just the convenience of it, and that's what this movie was, very convenient in terms of getting it to where you needed to go. It left it on a high note, I would say. It wasn't like an Empire ending where everything's kind of just like, oh, shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
So maybe in the second one we'll get to that type of thing.
Right.
I think Kylo Ren's going to be a formidable foe.
Oh yeah, he's going to be a badass in the second movie.
With a sweet ass scar.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get more character development, because I do like the characters that were given to us. I just wish we got to understand them and get more of them. I don't feel like we got much depth to them, and I want to explore that more.
And I honestly think we will. I think that this was written very safe to the point of getting fans back into the series and getting them excited to it again. Mm-hmm. And now they can explore those new characters, because honestly they did, like we talked about before, it was a successful transition for them from old to new, which we haven't seen very successful in previous films.
I agree.
Okay.
So final thoughts?
All right. First off, visually, yes, this movie is incredible. One of the best I've seen in a long time. So, I mean, you're going to want to see it in theaters just for that alone, I think, because you don't want to miss this on a big screen. It just is a great spectacle. And with that in mind, there are some glaringly obvious flaws with the story. It's like we've said, it's safe, everything happens so conveniently and just in such a fast-paced manner that I feel like it treats us like we're children and not that bright, and that we're just supposed to blindly accept everything that's given to us. And that bothers me greatly, because I expect better writing from this franchise, being, giving new life to it, but I just didn't get that from this movie. I'm hoping I get it more from the next movies. I'm hoping that all this is a launching pad for, handing the torch off, getting us familiar with these characters so we can do a lot more with the universe. And I'm hoping that is why this just didn't do it for me, because I want more, and it wasn't giving me that. It was playing it too safe, and so hopefully we'll get more from the next ones, but this one, the story just didn't do it for me. It was just very cut and paste.
Yeah.
I liked it more than Alex did. Reason being is all the flaws that it did have exist. There's no denying that. But I feel that they don't make me overlook the good parts of the movie. It's really fun to watch. It's really entertaining. I do care about the characters. And I think that scene to scene to scene transition fits in absolutely perfectly with the original trilogy. I mean, watch A New Hope. It's literally, it's like one scene, screen wipe, next scene, screen wipe, next scene. There's really not a whole lot of these downtimes in the original movies. So I think it fits in that sense really well. So I don't think that it's bad writing. I think it's writing catering to a specific audience, and it's absolutely safe, but it's not too safe where it's the absolute same thing. Yes, there are definite similarities between the original trilogy and this movie, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay. For me, I'm kind of like we kind of talked about the same with Kylo Ren, the man with two different sides, and that's how I feel with this movie. Mm-hmm. Where I'm looking at it, because I watched it twice now, and I've said I watched it first from a critic's viewpoint and second from a fanboy viewpoint, and I'm torn between the two because there's obviously flaws in it. I think the editing was really poor. I think the writing was really poor. However, from a fanboy, perspective, it hit a lot of beats that I wanted it to hit. I was excited to see this universe again. I was excited to see these characters who I grew up with again. And they succeeded in making me feel happy about being there again.
Yeah.
Where the prequels just made me upset.
I think that's a universal feeling.
Yeah. Like, I was happy from the fanboy perspective for the most part. Like, it really did succeed in a lot of areas that I wanted it to. From the critic standpoint, like I said, like it's just way too much convenience to play with. There's just too much going on. I thought we didn't talk about it at all, but the John Williams score was very lazy. Like, John Williams, I love his scores. Mm-hmm. There's nothing new here that was interesting. That was nothing that was great. He did better job making me feel these emotions in the prequels than he did in this movie, I felt. For whatever reason, I thought that was kind of disappointing as well. But yeah, you've watched it. There's no reason for me to say, don't watch this movie or watch this movie. It doesn't matter. We just spent an hour and 10 minutes just bullshit and talking about it because it's something that it's great to talk about. It's fun to talk about. It's a Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. It's freaking amazing. So, I'm torn.
I think it's good that it actually created some debate about what we feel is going on in the background with these characters, and I mean, whether you consider it a good movie or not, I think that fact alone kind of makes it shine a little bit.
Yeah, and like I said, I appreciated the second time a lot more than I did the first time. So, Alex, I encourage you to watch it again and look at it from a fan perspective. You know,
Catch a matinee.
But I mean, I should watch from a fan perspective at the same time. I feel like I'm doing the universe a disservice if we do that.
Right.
Because
And
if we just blindly accept and like it because it's a Star Wars film, you're going to get more of the prequels.
I think we were honest about it. I think that during this conversation that we just had, we were very critical of a lot of key elements to it. So it's not like we're saying that it's a great movie by any means. It's what it needed to be to reinvigorate the franchise in terms of a fan perspective. We talked about it to death, so we don't need to get into it again.
All right, so let's end it on one last question.
Okay.
Out of 7 movies, which spot does it hit the podium, the Olympic podium, or is it off the podium completely? What place would you put this movie in? Fourth?
Yeah, I'd say 4th.
I still like the original trilogy better.
I'm gonna go second. I like it right behind Empire.
That's crazy.
That's
That's interesting.
Me, though. Yeah,
and that's probably going to be a separate podcast discussion. Why Adam thinks this is second, but no, that you know what, valid. That's fine. I can respect that. There's a lot of cool things in here, and like visually, it's like fucking blown away by that.
Yeah,
so many rad ass visuals in this. So yeah, I can see that. Okay, how can we reach everybody?
You can follow me on Twitter. My name there is Alex Sandberg, AlexSanberg, or email me directly at the website, alex@lawslow.com. What about you, Adam?
I'm more active on Instagram than Twitter, so you can find me at Adam Howlett. It's ADAMHOWLETT. And then you can also email me at adamhowlett@lostlevel.com. Chris.
Okay, I'm on Twitter, twitter.com/calmintensity. On Instagram, I'm Chris's Calm. We have Lost Level on Twitter as well. It's at the Lost Level. We have a website. It's lostlevel.com, and all of our social media is in the upper right-hand corner. So just click on the links there, take you directly to those. We also have a YouTube page that I'm really excited about that we've been trying to do some exclusive things to. I've added a couple unboxings there recently for some random stuff like the Marvel Core box for December, which was Guardians of the Galaxy. So if you're interested in some unboxings, there's a few there. We're going to probably do some gaming stuff in the future and really trying to expand our YouTube page. So check us out there, subscribe, exciting things to come. Really appreciate it. I'm glad to have Adam back, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.